It started like any other Tuesday afternoon in Cottonwood Estates, our pristine HOA-obsessed gated community just outside Tallahassee. I was in my garage, polishing my Harley Davidson, and half listening to a conference call with the state attorney's office about a fraud case I was consulting on. Then came the sirens. Not just one patrol car. 3 cruisers tore down our normally quiet street. Lights blazing, sirens screaming. Overhead, a drone buzzed ominously, its camera locked squarely on my property. And there, sprawled across my perfectly trimmed lawn like an extra in a bad soap opera, was 15-year-old Trevor W.L. He was clutching a Monster Energy drink and howling like he'd taken a bullet to the soul. His mother, Claudia W., our HOA president and self-declared moral compass, stood next to him, arms folded, wearing her usual neon power walking gear and a smirk that could sour milk. "She emotionally damaged my son," she shrieked, jabbing a finger at me like she was casting a spell. He refused to let Trevor ride his motorcycle under the youthful desire's provision. "I demand an arrest." One of the officers looked at her like she'd just claimed the earth was flat. I kept polishing the chrome, my Bluetooth earpiece still connected to Assistant State Attorney Harrison, who was now listening with bemused interest. Of course, the youthful desire's provision exists only in Claudia's imagination, right next to unicorn tax codes and her belief that she runs a suburban dictatorship. One officer cautiously approached me as I made a point of discussing constitutional property rights with Harrison, loud enough for the whole circus to hear. "My name's Dale Bam. I'm a semi-retired security consultant who moved to Cottonwood Estates 3 years ago in search of peace, quiet, and strong coffee. My pleasures are simple: a clean garage, my vintage Harley, and uninterrupted solitude. I mind my business, keep my lawn tidy, and live by one golden rule: leave me alone and I'll return the favor. Claudia W. never got the memo. She's been president of the HOA for 6 exhausting years, ruling the neighborhood with an iron fist wrapped in pastel passive aggression. This is the same woman who once threatened legal action against a neighbor's golden retriever for excessive sniffing near her prize roses. Her son, Trevor, an aspiring 4-night champion with the physique of undercooked linguine, became fixated on my motorcycle after seeing me ride it once. That's when harassment began. First came the notes, passive-aggressive little gems written in purple gel pen and tucked under my windshield wiper. "Dear resident," they begin, "your loud, obnoxious vehicle disrupts the peace of our family-oriented community." Never signed, but the handwriting was identical to the HOA citations she loved passing out like breath mints. Then came the phony citations, clearly handwritten on letterhead she printed at home, demanding I remove the loud, vulgar machine within 72 hours or face fabricated fines. The HOA's covenants didn't prohibit motorcycles, and mine stayed tucked away in a closed garage when not in use. But facts never slowed Claudia down. Her tactics escalated. She started lurking around my driveway at odd hours, taking not-so-subtle photos with her phone held at waist level. One day, I found a baby monitor hidden in my hedge, presumably to detect what she called rebellious engine noises. I returned it to her porch with a note: "Try using this for actual babies, not grown men's motorcycles." Things took a strange turn when Trevor began calling me stepdad every time he saw me. This started after I politely refused his request to just sit on the bike for a second. Naturally, Claudia blamed me for what she described as seducing her child with dangerous masculinity. Yes, those were her exact words, uttered with conviction at an HOA meeting I attended solely to file a harassment complaint. That meeting was another farce. Claudia claimed the community center was being fumigated and held an emergency session in her living room. No other board members attended, but she declared herself unanimously vindicated and my complaint officially dismissed. She even typed up the minutes, listing herself as president, secretary, treasurer, and the sole attendee. Things finally came to a head last Tuesday. I was working from home, mid-call with Harrison, deep into a discussion about HOA embezzlement trends in Gainesville. That's when I heard a metallic scraping sound coming from my garage. I looked out the window. Trevor was in there, trying to start my Harley with a butter knife. The moment Trevor tried to start the bike with a butter knife, It jerked sideways and dumped him straight into my prized Elia bushes. He flailed theatrically, thrashing among the petals like he'd been ambushed by an angry rose bush. And right on cue, like she'd been waiting in the wings, Claudia appeared. She swooped in, helped Trevor to lawn, and cued the waterworks. He curled up on the grass, clutching his monster energy like a wounded soldier and moaning about trauma. That's when Claudia whipped out her phone and called 911, loudly claiming I had enticed a minor with weaponized transportation. Yes, weaponized transportation. The beauty of modern life? My phone captured everything, video, audio, drama, and all. Assistant State Attorney Harrison, still on the line, heard Claudia screeching about fictional ordinances, Trevor's Oscar-worthy sobs, despite lacking so much as a scratch, and my calm offer lemonade to everyone present. It was like a masterclass in false reporting. Live streamed to the state attorney's office. By the time the patrol cars arrived, Claudia had already launched into a dramatic monologue about protecting children from predatory vehicle owners. She cited Homeowner Sovereignty Clause 12C, which, like most of her legal knowledge, existed only in her imagination. Then came the demand. I should be arrested for violating her son's civil right to experience motorcycle ownership. Sergeant Peterson, the lead officer, looked like he was trying very hard not to laugh. "Ma'am," he said patiently, "refusing to give someone your personal property isn't a crime. If anything, your son trying to steal the motorcycle is." Claudia had turned a vibrant shade of purple. She launched into a tirade about how I had been corrupting the youth with my rebellious lifestyle, how she documented my antisocial behavior for months, and how she would be contacting the mayor, the governor, and, if necessary, the president. That's when Sergeant Peterson cocked his head. "Wait a second. Aren't you the lady who called us last Halloween about the satanic skeleton?" Apparently, Claudia had once demanded a SWAT response for a neighbor's plastic lawn decoration, claiming it promoted devil worship. The officers exchanged knowing glances. They reviewed my home security footage, which clearly showed Trevor enter my garage and attempting to start the Harley. They also listened to my live phone recording. Harrison, ever professional, confirmed it was recorded for quality assurance. The result? Trevor's stunt was officially classified as tampering with private property and attempted theft. Claudia received a citation for filing a false police report and wasting emergency resources. When she protested, sputtering that she was just doing her job as HOA president, Sergeant Peterson replied, "Vigilante justice isn't covered under HOA bylaws." Word of the incident spread quickly. The next HOA meeting, scheduled for following week, was shaping up to be a spectacle. I made sure of it, suggesting to Harrison that it be broadcast on local access TV as part of a new civic transparency initiative. The county jumped on the idea. Turns out, nothing draws a crowd like HOA drama. The meeting was standing room only. Some neighbors brought popcorn. Claudia tried to control the agenda, but board member Patricia Garrett wasn't having it. She immediately called for a vote of no confidence. Claudia, in response, attempted to filibuster, reading from the art of the deal and insisting it granted her executive immunity as a fellow businessperson. The vote was chaotic and dramatic. 3 board members voted to remove her. 2 abstained, presumably out of fear, and Claudia voted for herself to receive a raise and expanded powers. But for the bylaws, which she hadn't read closely, a simple majority was enough. Effective immediately, Claudia W.L. was no longer HOA president. To avoid criminal charges, she agreed to a legal settlement. As part of the terms, she was required to issue me a public written apology. She tried to write it in Latin to sound intellectual, but her Google Translate skills backfired. The resulting letter, printed in the neighborhood newsletter, translated roughly to, "My sorry Harley Daddy of Sin." The entire neighborhood had it framed. Trevor was slapped with no contact order and formally banned from coming near my property. The HOA bylaws were updated to include a new clause prohibiting aspirational theft, defined as attempting to take someone's property because you really, really want it. Claudia was also ordered to pay $5,000 in legal fees and fines. $5,000, she screamed in court. That's theft. That's extortion. I'll sue everyone in this room. The judge raised an eyebrow. Threatening to sue the court is contempt, he said flatly, and tacked on another $1,000. Claudia's face drained from purple to white as she realized her HOA president's stipend wouldn't even put a dent in the damage.